Welcome back to another video here on Freewheel Photos. In a previous video, I showed how you can edit an image using DxO Photolab, but at the end of that, I mentioned that you can take an image from DxO Photolab and then import it into Affinity Photo in order to use the Inpainting tool to remove distractions. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. And this really goes for any software, but if you are a DxO Photolab user, and you want something that's going to give you a tool to be able to remove distractions, well, Affinity is a free software that you can download. And the tool that I'm going to be showcasing today is not paid. So let's go ahead and jump into the computer so you can take a look at how we do this. All right, so here we are inside of the computer, and you can see down here at the bottom, I have some lines that are distractions. They need to be removed. And so that's what we're going to do. And the first thing that I like to do is duplicate my layer. So I'm going to go ahead and right click on the layer here and hit Command and J. It'll be Control and J on a PC in order to duplicate the background. Now I'm going to go ahead and double click, rename this line remove, just so that way I have organization in my layers over here on the right hand side. Now, the tool that we're going to be using today, as I mentioned, is a part of the free version of Affinity. You do not have to have a Canva subscription in order to use this tool. We're going to come over here on the left tool wheel, and you'll see a icon that has this little paintbrush with, I guess, a little circle around it, and it's called the Inpainting Brush. Now, if for any reason that you do not see the Inpainting Brush on your version of Affinity, go ahead and find the icon that looks similar to one of these, either the Healing Brush, the Patch Tool, the Blemish Removal Tool, or the Red Eye Removal Tool. You may have had one of those selected in a previous session, and so that's the tool that's still selected. But the one that we want is the Inpainting Brush. And so once we click that, you can use your left and right bracket keys to make your brush either larger or smaller. And so what I recommend you do is you find a good size that is essentially giving you 50-50 of the outside of the line on both sides being covered. And so let me show you what I mean. Right now, this brush size is probably pretty good. I don't need to go this large. You could, but I don't recommend it. And I don't want to go too small. All right. Now, the reason for that is you want to make sure that you have a pretty good sample size that Affinity is going to take a look at and make that in painting decision. And so I'm going to go ahead and make my brush size just a little bit larger. This is about the size that I would go for. Obviously, the distraction that you're removing from your photo is going to require a different approach. And I just want to kind of talk through the technique. So you make the decision of what works the best for your image. And then I like to start from the outside and move all the way in. Now, I am clicking and dragging with my mouse as carefully as I possibly can. If you have a pen tablet, this may be a little bit easier. But I'm just going to go all the way across here and do my best to stay on the line. And then when I get to the end, I'm just going to let go. The Inpainting brush is going to sample the areas around it. And you can see it gets rid of that line. Okay. All right. And so we're just going to rinse and repeat until all of the lines are gone. So I'll fast forward through this so you don't have to sit here and watch me try to paint through all of these lines. All right. So now all of the lines in the photo have been removed. The Inpainting tool has done its job, and you can probably see where this is going. But you'll probably also notice that I have some things that are still left in the image that I need to get rid of. And you probably guessed it, just use the Inpainting tool one more time to go ahead and remove those distractions. And so I'm just going to go ahead and paint over this, and that's now gone. And this is now gone, and you get the point. Now, sometimes you'll run into issues like I just had where I tried to paint over an area and the Inpainting tool didn't get rid of it. And so I'll show you how you can fix those issues here in a second. We're just going to go ahead and paint over this area and these areas up here to see if we can get rid of them. And now we should be able to get rid of that one. Okay. And let's paint away some of these other issues that we're seeing here. There we go. And we'll paint these away. All right. So whenever you have an issue like this, where you try to paint over one or two, they don't go away, and you can see that they're complete duplicates. Usually one or two of them are the duplicates. So let me just undo that really quickly. And so you'll notice that if I paint over just that, nothing happens. And if I paint over just this one, nothing happens. And so sometimes what you have to do is paint over both of them, and then it's going to resample, and then you just paint again. Now, the way that I'm going to show you how to do this, we're just going to undo this so you're not like painting like crazy all over the image, is make your brush size just a little bit larger and then paint over all of it at once. Because what you're telling Affinity is, I don't even want you to try to sample anything in these areas. Go find something else to sample. And you'll notice that the rest of the ground here, or the stage, is pretty clear. And so when I let this go, it's going to do a good job because it has more non-destructive information to work with. And so I'll go ahead and just paint over all these areas where there are duplicates of things that don't need to be in the final result of this image. And that looks pretty good. Now, of course, if you want to clean this up, I'm going to show you how to take this a step further as far as like fixing distractions. And so we have the line remove. Let me go ahead and duplicate this layer. I'm just going to hit Command J to duplicate this layer, and we're going to call this blur. And this is one of those things that you don't always have to do, but sometimes it helps to throw in a little bit of a blur, especially on things where maybe the bottom of a stage is not necessarily important to have in focus. So it just works. You'll have to take this into consideration for your photo that you're working on. But for this one, I don't think that we really care what's happening on the bottom of the frame. And so I'm going to come over here to the live filters. And again, this is a part of the free version of Affinity, at least as of the time of this recording. And then we're going to come over here to Gaussian blur. Now, you could use the pixel version of the Gaussian blur, but I personally like to use the live filter version, especially when I'm doing light editing like this, because it allows me to come back in and change the overall blur. Whereas if I use the pixel, then that would be committed to that layer. And so that's the reason why I like to use the live filter version. Now, you want to check the block that says preserve alpha, and I'll show you what happens if you don't. So we'll go ahead and pull the radius up, and then you'll notice around the edges, we start to get like this white border, right? So if I pull it down, you'll see that that white border it exists, but it's not prominent. The further you pull this up, the more you're going to start to see that. However, if you check the block that says preserve alpha, it just goes all the way to the edges of the border of the image, and it makes it that much easier. Now, I obviously don't want this over the entire photo, and so I'm going to leave this at 39 pixels for now, and then I'm going to click on the image, and then I'm going to click on mask. And what I want to do is use like a gradient to kind of fade this in, and so I'm going to come over here to my gradient tool. It says fill tool, but this is the gradient tool. So when I click that, it now gives me the opportunity to just drag a mask or a black filter, if you will, onto the photo. And I can size this, and you can see I'm only applying the blur to the bottom of the image, because where white is, the effect will be applied. Where black is, the effect will not be applied. And this is just a gradient that's telling me the closer I pull this to white, the less I'm not impacting anything above this black circle. And if I pull the white circle further up here, you can see that I now have 100% blur underneath the circle here. And so all I'll do is feather this out to somewhere around here, probably bring this in. Now, one of the reasons why I like using the live filter is because I can just come in and re-establish where I want my blur to go. or how much blur strength I want. And so I'm just going to go ahead and pull down on this live filter to probably somewhere around here. And I think that that looks good. And then again, another thing that I can do is I can come in here and we'll just grab a curves adjustment layer. And I'm going to go ahead and pull down to darken that bottom portion. Now that I have my curve adjustment the way that I want it, I need to mask this into the photo. And the way that I like to do this is by holding down the Option key. This will be Alt on PC. And then I'm just going to click and drag the mask up and onto my actual curve adjustment. And now I've only applied that to the bottom of the photo in the same place where I have the blur. And so if I come back to my curves adjustment layer, I can readjust this, make it as dark as I absolutely want to. And it's only going to impact the bottom of the photo. Now, I don't want it to be like crazy dark, so we'll probably go somewhere around here, and we can go ahead and close that down. Let me group all of these items together by selecting them all and then hitting Command or Control G if you're on a PC. It'll put all of the items into a group, and this just allows me to turn off our correction of everything that we've done so far in Affinity and then turn it back on so we can see the final product. So that's how you can work with any program really, but specifically DxO, because that is something that I promised from this particular image. And I wanted to make sure that I closed the loop on that. So if you're working inside of DxO Photo Lab and you're looking for something that's going to allow you to remove distractions from your image relatively seamless, then I think Affinity is a great companion to DxO. Especially if you're looking for something that doesn't require a subscription. It's completely free for all of the tools that I showcased in today's video. I want to be clear, there is a subscription that you can have with Affinity to unlock more features, and that's a Canva subscription that allows you to unlock those features. But for everything that I showed in this video, you do not need access for that. All you have to do is create a free Canva account and then log in and download Affinity, and you can have access to all these tools. If you're new to photo editing and just trying to figure out what software do you really need, well, maybe a training call would be a good step for you. I have a link down in the description box below so you can sign up for that. And when we meet, what you'll do is lay out exactly what you're trying to accomplish, and I will help you develop a workflow, a system of editing your images in as simple of a manner as possible. Now, if you are confused at what type of software or how to use particular software, well, I also help train and teach people how to get familiar with their photo editing software of choice. Doesn't matter what the software is, I teach the techniques. I can't guarantee that I'm going to be able to teach you every single photo editing software because I have not used all of them. But the good news is most photo editing softwares follow the exact same techniques and tools and concepts. And so when I teach you the concept, you'll be able to adapt it to essentially any photo editing software. And that's what I teach in my one-on-one training classes. So if that's something you're interested in, consider signing up for a call today. A link for that can be found in the description box below. Until next time, I want you to stay inspired and keep creating. Peace.